All right, I forgot I was on push to talk in that other space. All right. Welcome everybody to Romans 13. Come on in. So Bishop Soto won't be here today, and so we'll have I think we'll have a pretty short, because I don't have a big sermon prepared, because I'm normally just sharing little bits of insight. While Bishop Soto, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but
thing,
you've got a button and a gun.
I got a button and a gun. All right, there we go. And so I forgot to be on megaphone. I'm sorry, everybody. So Bishop Soto won't be able to be here today. Kind of just finding out in this moment. So I don't have a full sermon prepared as I normally would if I was taking this on my own today. So we're going to have a really pretty quick zoom through Romans 13. The little insight that I was going to kind of weave into Bishop Soto's sermon, I'll share that with you, and then that'll just allow us more time. Maybe at the end we can talk about it together. So without further ado, let's just jump in. Romans 13. If I can have somebody who would like to start us off with verses 1 through 3, I'd love to have your participation. Just raise your hand or come on up, stand up in front of me. I'll shoot you, give you a megaphone. No, two hills. Thank you, Jessica. You're awesome. Okay, so did that make you megaphone? Why can't I remember if it's one shot or two? It's 2 shots.
Yay!
2 shots. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Everyone must submit to governing authorities, for all authority comes from God, and those in positions of authority have been placed there by God. So anyone who rebels against authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and they will be punished. For the authorities do not strike fear in people who are doing right, but in those who are doing wrong. Would you like to live without fear of the authorities? Do what is right, and they will honor you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica. Oopsie, I think I missed you on that first one. Did I miss you, or did I hit you?
Nope.
I must have missed you. Yeah, you're awesome. Thank you. All right. So, oopsie, I'm losing my gun. Yes, this can be taken out of context, just like any other scripture can be taken out of context. Yes, by default, by nature, we really do need to respect authority and follow these rules, right? They're there for our own good. Do not murder each other, rape or steal from one another. Even just the other day, I was having this conversation with Hufflepuff, and we're just talking about sin and is this sin, is that sin? And in the discussion, we're talking about how there's so much sin that exists in this world that's not listed in the Bible, right, as sin specifically. Like, say, speeding. No one really necessarily thinks of speeding as sin, but this comes to this thing about the authorities. They put the speed limit there for good reason, because when we go over that speed limit, we are significantly more likely to get in an accident, causing harm, even killing other human beings or ourselves, right? By being reckless in our speeding. So those rules are there for a reason. And I'll admit I speed too. And if you're a driver, there's a good chance that you find yourself just a little bit, right? Just no more than 5 over, because then they won't pull me over. Like, what can I get away with without getting in trouble? But in reality, I really need to be respectful. Those rules are there for a reason. It's not about me not getting in trouble or getting in trouble. It's not about the ticket. It's about putting each other in harm's way, doing what we shouldn't be doing. That's sin. Speeding, sin. Because it's dangerous and it's harmful. So in general, yes, respect authority, obey, do as they ask, follow the law. I in the same way that, like, it says, obey your parents. Yes, by default, obey your parents. They generally know better than us children. It's generally in our best interest to obey our parents. But if our parents are saying something like, go out and commit these crimes, go out and help me to these people so that I can get them and steal from them, or help me to get these people so even worse, that I could do some sort of harm to them. In all things, we must first obey God, right? Who's the ultimate authority? That would be God, before any man, before any law. So if the law or the authority is asking us to do a thing that goes against God's law for us, then at that point, that is when we need to not, right? There can be instances where the authority has it wrong, and these instances are only when it's asking us to go against God's law. God's law to love Him with all of our heart, mind, soul, and being. You know, if somebody says you got to stop worshiping God because decided it's against the law, right? You can't stop loving God, right? At that point, you're going to not do what the authority has asked you to do. In the same way, loving each other. Like if the authority comes and says, you'll see this with the Holocaust. If the authority comes and says, go out there and scoop up all these people so that we can bring them and torture them and murder them, we have to not obey the authority and not go out and torture and murder human beings. So in all things, we must test all things with God's law, right? The law of love. And outside of that, I know some of us think that like we don't take it seriously. The law, again, we might have, like, for me, it's speeding. I think, what can I get away with speeding wise? If I don't go over 5, then I won't get in trouble. For some of us, we don't. It's all about what you can get away with, and it's not about that obeying the law, doing what is right, and you shouldn't have to fear them. And I'm watching Phantom. So something I might get. Well, who's going to get me in trouble? Who's going to get me in trouble? So something that we really, but I feel like I want to say something now. So forgive me. Something we really try and stay out of is politics here at VRMMO Church. It's really important to us, and we are going to continue to stay out of politics. But at this moment, with this whole discussion of authority and such, I just want to emphasize that it is good for our faith to affect our politics. That's great. That our faith, that God and what He wants for us, it dictates as it should in all things. It's great that our faith affects our politics, but it is very dangerous when our politics affect our faith. So, again, in all things, including this, we must test all things for God's law, right? And we all have that individual responsibility. And yeah, so let's just keep going. I could talk more on that, but I'm really trying not to. It's not about politics. It's about us doing what is good, what is right in all things, in every aspect of our life. Ooh, I like the super ruler. And I love that somebody put up all the rest of the curtains that I never got up. Yay, thank you, whoever put up the rest of the curtains. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. This super ruler. All right. So as we continue, if we could have someone read, let me just real quick see the, okay. And so let's do someone to read 4 and 5, please. I have another helper. Lion King, was that you coming up to help read? No, it's okay. No, takers. No. I love Simeon's over there working away. President Simeon, no wonder. Yeah. So I can't wait to get over there on that side, President Simeon. I'll go ahead and read for us now to get us there a little sooner. So the authorities, here's in verse 4, the authorities are God's servants sent for your good. Again, that's what I was saying. Remember, it is for our best interest that we don't speed. It's for our own good and the good of others, right? So the authorities are God's servants sent for your good. But if you are doing wrong, of course, you should be afraid, for they have the power to punish you. So they are God's servants sent for the very purpose of punishing those who do what is wrong. So you must submit to them, not only to avoid punishment, but also to keep a clear conscience. Again, this is like the laws. Oopsie. The laws, for the most part, again, not all, but for the most part, the laws are here for our own good. And yes, we have a system, and most of society around the world, we have a system of punishment when you break those laws. And this is to keep the rest of society safe. And even you, the lawbreaker, safe via punishment, hoping to discourage you from continuing to do what is dangerous and hurtful for yourself and for others. Not to mention this clear conscience thing, because if you are a Jesus follower, Jesus makes you feel bad when you do the wrong, when you break the law, when you do what is dangerous, unkind, cruel even. So follow the law, do what is right. Continuing here in verse 6, do we have any readers? I'll just keep asking. Okay. Here in verse 6, pay your taxes too, for these same reasons. For government workers need to be paid. They are serving God in what they do. Give to everyone what you owe them. Pay your taxes and government fees to those who collect them, and give respect and honor to those who are in authority. Trying tax evasion is nothing new. It's been a thing. It's always been a thing. People are always trying to hang on to every penny. But doing so is sinning, is going against God's law, right? God gave us the system. If you go back into the Old Testament, starting with Moses, God gave a system of judgment and laws, and this was for their own good, and this was for our own good. The system of laws and judgment was created by God. So when we act against the system, assume the system we're above the system, right? We're better than that. We could do our own thing. We don't have to pay our taxes. We can get around it. We're smarter than whomever. But doing so isn't right. Pay your taxes. Do so, and without all the gruffling and huffling. I know that's really hard because I too can tend to go, oh my gosh, so much money in taxes. But give respect and honor. This is a system that is in place for our best interest, and without our contributing our finances, the system can't exist. Not to mention our roadways and our public transportation and our this and that. So these taxes are for good reason. Here in verse 8, owe nothing to anyone except for your obligation to love one another. If you love your neighbor, you will fulfill the requirements of God's laws. Here is one of my favorite things here. Except for your obligation to love one another. So this loving one another thing, this isn't a side note, right? This isn't we have an obligation to each other. Remember, we are one body in Christ. We are all our individual parts that work collectively, and we are obligated to our hands to take care of them, and we are obligated to this obligation word, loving one another is the least we can do, and the love that we are receiving from other Christians who are fulfilling their obligation to love us. How can we not love people in return? This is not a side thing, but the thing. We have an obligation to love one another because God first loved us. And this is a huge, if you do that, then you're following God's law. Here it says it. If you love your neighbor, people get very upset. Like, people get very upset when we say that we are no longer bound by the laws of Moses, and that this list that is out there is no longer the list that governs us. And people be like, but wait, isn't killing people still against the law? Like they think that just because you don't follow this list means that we should be out there, murdering each other and doing the horrible things. Absolutely not. We don't follow a list as Christians. We follow this law that was given to us by God. Love him with all of our heart, our mind, our strength, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. And when we do this, we are fulfilling all the requirements of God's law. So in all things, when we're unsure what's right, what's wrong, right? Everything, every thought we have, every word we speak, every action we take, compare this. Is whatever we're about to say, is it whatever we're pondering and thinking about, does it go against the law of love? What is love? 1 Corinthians 13. Check it out. So if it says love is patient, if whatever we've got going on is impatient, then that goes against God's law. So if we're always frustrated because we're running late for work, and then our kids don't bring home what they're supposed to bring home, and we get so frustrated and we take it out on them and we lose our patience on a regular basis. Yes, we'll all lose our patience sometimes, and it will happen, but we have to be mindful. If this is a continuous thing, this is a problem. And I know it doesn't, show up on the list that we all want to follow. Do not murder, do not this, do not that. Does it actually say somewhere, do not be impatient? Maybe not, right? So, but we know, because it's contrary to God's law of love. Love is patient. So impatience is sin, is wrong, is bad. So really encourage the whole list in 1 Corinthians 13. And that is our, like you see over here, supreme ruler. You'll see it at the far end of the room. That is our ruler. Ooh, I would like to get love is patient, love is kind, love does not boast, is not self-seeking, it is not. I would love to get that written on the other side of that ruler, so people can see and then go, oh, I wonder if this is right or wrong or okay, and then you just come and check out this ruler and go, oh, I guess I am being kind of cocky. I know I'm being really boastful. Maybe that's a problem, right? Oh, I am being really impatient. Oh, I am being really selfish. Selfish is a big one. Um, self-seeking, selfishness. Excuse me. As we continue, anybody who's decided they're really eager now to help in reading? Jenna? No? No? Alice? Yeah? Oh, wow. Yay.
On this one? I
Oh, yeah, I know you already have megaphone, but did I mute you in doing so? I did. Oh.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
11
Okay. No,
till...
wait, here in 9, yeah, starting in
you want me to
9.
read this one?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
please.
For the commandments say, you must not commit adultery, you must not murder, you must not steal, you must not covet. These and such other commandments are summed up in this one commandment: love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no wrong to others. Love fulfills the requirements of God's law.
Thank you. So I hadn't read that part before I went on my tangent. Again, like I said, I wasn't prepared to do a full sermon. Yeah, and no wonder you thought I read that, because everything I just said was that. Exactly. Super funny. Okay, so clearly we can keep on going. And Alice, do you mind keeping us going? That is really funny.
This is all the more urgent for you. Know how late it is. Time is running out. Wake up, for our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. The night is almost gone. The day of salvation will soon be here. So remove your dark deeds like dirty clothes, and put on shining armor of right living.
Thank you. Okay, we can keep going with that thought, I think. Do you mind keeping us going? Because this kind of continues with it? Yeah,
because we belong to the day, we must live decent lives for all to see. Don't participate in the darkness of wild parties and drunkenness, or in sexual promiscuity and immoral living, or in quarreling and jealousy. Instead, clothe yourself with the presence of the Lord Jesus Christ, and don't let yourself think about ways to indulge your evil desires.
Thank you, Alice. You want me to shoot? I don't know if it matters. I'll shoot you. Just she has megaphone all the time and has the ability to control herself, so she doesn't need me to use my trusty gun for any of that. But here we are. Thank you, Alice, for your help in this. Because we belong to the day, we must live decent lives for all to see. I'll be the first one to admit. When I was younger, I mean, many of you have heard that I really only truly gave my life to God like 10 years ago. Was I a Christian? Was I brought up in the Christian faith? And yeah, I believed in God's existence since childhood, but I really only gave my life to God. Started actually living for Him about 10 years ago. And I got to tell you, it's easy to slip into this as a young person. Young people are by nature, well, maybe it's changed nowadays. When I was growing up, drinkers, we were big drinkers. It was like all the kids got super drunk every weekend, right? It was what the kids were doing. They might be doing different things today, but it is very easy to slip into this because of like peer pressure. When other young people, as young people tend to push the limits, the borders. They're trying to figure themselves out in the world around them. So there's a lot of so many mistakes happening, and everybody's making them. So it doesn't really seem like a mistake at the time because everybody's doing it, right? But just because everybody's doing it, does not make it right. It does not make it good. And so we need to be our own people. We need to live for God, no matter our age. You don't have to wait till you're older. I promise you this. I promise you this. I wish I could rewind time and live for Him sooner. I would give anything to rewind time and live for Him sooner and not had to have lived a life in the darkness. And so for those of you that just like maybe you don't take your faith super seriously, you're not weaving God into the fabric of your life. You're not allowing God to like dictate who you are and how you treat other people, how you treat yourself, then you're seriously, seriously missing out on some wonderful, precious gifts beyond words. But it is easy to slip into that. Very easy to slip into that. And all right, so that is it for 13. Maybe we can unmute everybody and come on
Alina?
up. Yeah.
I triggered the
Oh,
light,
we have
the
more outside. I
majestic
forgot
in the
outside.
bar. I'm sorry for people that are dark in here and lights are coming on by Thumper because the darkness
Oh, no, I
outside
forgot
of the
about outside.
party.
Yeah.
Everyone follow
Yeah.
Alina. Come on,
I forgot
follow
about
Alina,
I
everyone.
forgot about outside. Or is this I gotta tell you, like I wasn't prepared. So
Hello,
often, okay, so
everyone come
here
in.
is the party at night. Here's the party at
party.
night. We thought we'd live here at the with the
41.
it's party at night.
And
The
Yes.
sun's
in
coming
a
up.
strange
See me in Princess dress.
yeah.
We had a few messages flying around and no one could see the text because it's so dark in here. Someone here snuck to the bar and turned the lights off in the map. Now, some of us saw it.
That's what
You
you were
were
trying to
also-
say.
We were literally standing there talking in pitch blackness. We're going, how's she reading that? She's obviously not seeing the same as us.
No,
No.
it was light to
Party
me.
without,
I never
you
saw
know,
darkness.
Party Majestic Fox's birthday on Friday, so let's celebrate in the party room.
Yeah, happy belated to Majestic.
Good
Seriously,
job,
this
Majestic. Your birthday.
Captain America.
drives me nuts.
Reminds me.
Rec room. Join the fun for free.
Awesome. Phantom doing the moonwalk in his spacesuit. And so, without further ado, before we truly release into this fantastic dance party, was there anything that anyone else wanted to share? Question and or comment? Yeah, Jessica.
Yeah, so I know this was short and sweet, but man, what a lot to unpack in these verses. So two quick comments that were observations is what was interesting in these passages is that I really got a sense of, this listening to authority, right, was an acknowledgement of we are in this world, right? We live in this world, right? And if we remember, Romans was being written at the time that Jewish and Gentile Christians were coming together under a new emperor. That emperor wasn't a nice guy. There was a lot of confusion and flux and tension going on, and so this acknowledgement that says, hey, we have to respect the rule of law. We are part of this world, right? And we do that by following God's number one rule, which is love. But what was interesting, where at the very end, where Paul is saying, we don't party, don't do all of these things. Salvation, the end is coming, is really an acknowledgement that while we live in this world, we are not a part of this world, right? Yes. So I think very, very deftly, he kind of weaves both of those to say, yeah, you're living here. We need to do our part, but we really don't have to be a part of this world. We can become that example. Which brings me to my second point, which is that big old measuring stick, love. I know we don't talk about politics, and I'm not getting into that, but take any thorny issue, right? And I find myself doing the same thing okay, when do I speak up? When don't I, right? When is good trouble versus bad trouble?
Tricky.
Yeah. And so what I've had to learn is God doesn't accept just a technicality. So I might be technically correct, but if I don't have the right spirit or intention, what's in my heart is as important, if not more important. So I always have to, this is something I struggle with, which is what is my motivation, right? What is in my heart when I say something or do something or say, why am I not doing? Why isn't this happening in a better way? I have to ask myself, what is my motivation? What is in my heart? Is it to see some form of judgment? I don't like God's timetable. I don't like how it's happening. I only have part of the story. So I always have to take that step back and say, what would Jesus do? Because if that isn't the biggest measuring stick of all, I don't know what is. And us as humans, we oftentimes that gets lost in the mix because we feel as though we're right. And anything else doesn't matter. And what's in our heart matters as much, if not more.
Absolutely.
Sorry, that's just my own perspective on things. I think these sets of passages get weaponized a lot, and everybody does it. It doesn't matter what side you're on any issue. These can be weaponized to mean anything you want to mean. So if that's the case, if the words can get weaponized, we're left with what is in our heart.
Yes. I love how you say what is in our heart is what matters. If and you said if not even more than the thing, and you said like the technicality of things. Well, technically, I'm right. Technically, I'm right. And the same way, I'm like driving, going, okay, well, they'll never give me a speeding ticket if I don't go over 5 miles over the speed, right? So this is like a technicality. I am breaking the law with this technicality. Technically, they'll never prosecute me for it, right? So I'm just gonna do it because I, for some reason, feel the need to get somewhere 1 minute faster than I otherwise would have been. Because what is that 1 minute? I don't. It's almost like a problem, like because I really do tend to want to go 4 miles over, and maybe that's something I'll start working on. Is not doing that. Oh my gosh, driving's going to be so horrible. Thankfully, I don't do it too often. I'm trying to imagine the 60-mile-an-hour trip down the
You wait till you get 20-mile-an-hour speed zones.
Oh no, I know. It's the worst. It's like you're walking or crawling. It's they're the worst. Oh, speed limit.
Me, I'm a road rager. That's my problem.
Oh.
The person who's driving the speed limit, I'm like, why are you going so slow? And I get angry. So
you'll get it.
Why are you obeying the law? You should be like the rest of us who operate on technicalities and go as fast
and why
as
am I
we
so
can go.
angry about it?
And why are we so angry about it? That's so
save your day.
good.
Superman saving your day.
Superman. Woo! And then that is so funny.
American.
Angry
Was
about
it?
and you're not
What is it?
alone. It's frustrating to have
Captain
somebody.
America.
Everybody's just
Captain America. Something like that. I said American.
It's our human nature that's the thing that we have to corral.
Yeah. We really that's like a big one. And I think what was that?
Illegal to sit in the passing lane too, going slow. So that's illegal.
Also illegal, true. Very much. Very much. And that's really where I get most frustrated. Is not so much. I'm not so much frustrated with people going 60, as long as that passing lane is not filled with somebody going 60.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And what's really interesting is like, because sometimes we as Christians can have a very, very narrow view on what it means to obey God. Like we've got our little handwritten list out, and we're not doing these handwritten lists out. So we think we're like doing perfectly. We're the best Christians ever. But we do speed, and we do get frustrated and angry and have horrible thoughts about people. How stupid is that person who won't get out of the fast lane? How you know what I mean? Even in this one tiny context that we're referring to. And now think about all of the million other ways that we continuously live our lives disobeying God in what we think and what we say and what we do, because it's not on our little narrow list. It's
or nobody caught us.
Or nobody caught us. Or technically, blah, blah, blah. but our
Yeah.
heart had the worst of intentions. But technically, it's okay. Are protests immoral? That is a fantastic.
Oh,
That's a good one. That is a great one. Are protests immoral? Yeah, I so because it goes back to this. So I believe that God wants us to stand up for what is right, because if we don't, then the evil will devour everyone without people to stand up and say that's not right. So in my heart, again, I bring it back to, it would be immoral to protest somebody saying everybody drives 60 miles an hour and that's the law, and you just got so angry because you wanted to drive 80 miles an hour, and so you started protesting the 60-mile-an-hour rule. That, I would say, would be immoral, because this is a good law that is for our own good. In other words, what God would want for us. He wouldn't want us running around killing each other, ping-ponging around at 80 miles an hour everywhere, right? So that would be defiance for the sake of just being defiance. Like, it's not standing up for what is right or what is good. That's standing up for what you want to be able to do. I think I shouldn't have to obey laws. I shouldn't have to, blah, 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 blah. So I'd say it's like everything else in this world. There's no black and white.
I can
But
see,
if they're trying to say go out and murder a group of people, yes, we should stand up as a people and say we won't murder people. Like we won't. I keep going back to the Holocaust because, well, if and I know easier said than done, because in that particular stance, they're probably going to murder you if you don't get on the murder everybody else train. But we can't get on the murder everyone else train. We just can't, no matter how hard it is. Even if it means our own life is lost. If it is truly going against God in a horrific way like that, then I believe it's right to say something. To not say something is. So I want to hear what other people think, including you, Phantom. What do you guys think?
I was just curious about it because back in this time it was mostly kings. It was your method of government. So and there were evil kings. So maybe protesting the king was not part of the system. So you just go out and say, or we don't like this, rah, 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 and you expect something to happen, because the king would just be like, I don't care, I'm the king. But and for democracy, there's an expected level of feedback that it's supposed to happen as part of the system, as built in. So you're almost respecting the system by participating in it. It's just
absolutely.
It's just where that line ends. Like voting is obviously part of the system, so that's your chance to vote. So you're expected to vote. You should really be doing that. You should just be sitting back and just doing nothing, because you're not participating in the system. Even though it says respect the authorities, well, you're deciding who the authorities are, so you should be voting. But then protest is after that choice has been made. So you've made the choice, you've now given them authority. Should you be contradicting them all the time? But of course, there's a certain level of feedback there. Congressmen expect letters and stuff too. But that's still different than going out and standing in the street blocking things.
But there again, some people get voted on what they say they're going to do, and all they're doing is spurting off a load of lies. So when they do get in power, they introduce unjust laws. So that makes it a bit difficult then, doesn't it?
Right,
absolutely.
But we can't believe that there was no injustice back at the time this was written.
Oh yeah, this was horrible. And back at the time this was written, it was way worse, because like if you did protesting was not a thing you did back then. If you did protest, you would be scooped up and imprisoned or murdered. That would be just the go-to response for a protest, right? Where now we're freer to protest, because the consequences for our actions are not death or imprisonment most of the time, right? Most of the time, you go home at the end of the day. What are you protesting? So it all comes. I don't think it's black and white. Are you and how are you protesting? Like, are you protesting because you see that people are being hurt repeatedly by the system, like cruelty, not a little, like major cruelty, right? Injustice. Or are you protesting because they aren't going to fund that school that your kids always gone to and you wanted to get open, right? Are you protesting because you want your own way, or are you protesting in defense of the well-being of another human being? So I think those two, like, comes back to your heart. Why are you protesting? And then also, how are you protesting? Are you protesting saying, hell no, we won't go, you guys are jerks and we're the best and you're the, like, are you being cruel? Are you spitting in their face? Are you throwing rocks? Are you calling them names, right? All of these, well, you already know that's not the right thing to do because it goes against God's law to love. You don't spit in people's faces and call them names and blah, blah, blah. But to stand up for an injustice and just say, I am here and I don't agree. I think this is wrong. I think,
Well, okay, so two things. So, Phantom, something you said was really interesting about, democracy today relies on a certain amount of feedback, right? And how does that feedback come? So, going back to, is protest immoral? Well, is protest actually disobeying the authorities, right? Or is protest a form of feedback to say this is wrong and we want this changed? So I'd say that it absolutely goes back to our heart to say, why are we doing this? Right? Is this for self-gratification? Is this for an advantage? Do we see people or something that is not being loved? Right? Are we approaching this with the spirit of love? And is the type of protest something that, like I said, is it aggressive? Do we have love in our hearts? So that's a really interesting question, is to say, what is my intention when I'm protesting, right? Do I want to cause chaos? Am I doing it for the right reasons? The other is, in our heart, I mean, back in these times is, remember, Christianity was outlawed, right? And yet we still had home churches. So is that not, a form of disobedience, right?
Yep.
But we don't question that because we say that God's law, right? That we love one another and that we seek fellowship one another trumps that, so to speak, right? However, what didn't happen is they didn't go around rioting in the streets. They didn't commit violence. They quietly and with love in their hearts sought fellowship with one another, even though it was outlawed. So I think we can all pick occasions where there's a way to address things that are not right. And the message I take from Paul is that, one, we have to do it within the system that affords us, right? That we don't get to chart our own path in society. We don't get to say, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. So I think there's that respect for our fellow human that comes out loud and clear in this. But Phantom, you had the $1 million question is because and with everything, right? Those who say it's easy and that it's black and white, it's either or, I'm sorry. They're either being naive, disingenuous, or they might be cherry picking some of the examples that come to mind, because it's not easy. And I don't think it should be easy. Because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Something that you mentioned, Jessica, like at the very beginning. No, me too. I really do. At the very beginning, and so protesting, at least in our country. See, that's the thing. Different countries, different laws, blah blah blah, right? And so in our
Look what's
country,
happening in Iran.
protesting is not against the law. That is a right. We have the right to protest. So doing so is it in itself is not disobeying, right? One could say, but it's not respectful, and you're supposed to be respectful. But that also is back down to intent, and we cannot see the hearts of each other. Is someone being disrespectful in their actions, right? Or usually this is coming out in the name calling, the raging anger and slander, just horrible, right? It usually comes out really wrong way. In your heart's in the place, it usually comes out in a wrong way. But when your heart is in the right place, and that would be considered respectful to say, hey, I don't agree. I don't think that we should be doing this, and that's what I'm saying. And that's that, right? Yeah, it would be easier if things were so black and white. I mean, at least easier to make decisions. You're like,
How dare we have to think for ourselves?
I know, right? That's so hard. Just thinking for ourselves. Ooh, what time is it? Ooh, closing prayer. I was just wondering if someone wanted to close us in prayer. I kind of get a picture of you too, Samuel, because you look so cool. Got you. I love the outfits. Thank you. This build was so cool. This is a lot of fun. I wish we had more time in between services because I could totally hang out and boogie the night. Get wild. I just told y'all I was a wild child when I was younger, but hey.